here's Brody Brazil.
I wanted to make this video specifically because I've seen this topic documented on other YouTube channels, but I still feel like it deserves attention and a little bit of conversation because not enough people know about this. What the heck is that? A huge slab of concrete and what looks to be a human-made lake right next to the old ARCO Arena. Now, I say old ARCO Arena because that building, aka Power Balance Pavilion, aka Sleep Train Arena, it has since been demolished from the time that this satellite image captured it. That building was completely destroyed and removed in late 2022. It only went up in 1985, did not have a long life, but that's part of this whole complex. Did you know that slab of concrete and that lake, what turned into a lake, was supposed to be a pro sports stadium for a Major League Baseball team or an NFL team for Sacramento? They were trying real hard in the mid to late 80s and early 90s to lure somebody, whether it was relocation or expansion, and it didn't stop them from spending a lot of money to start building a stadium that they didn't even know what it would eventually look like, but they just started building the corner of it. Looks like they did a lot of grading of that land to excavate it, to get it to the levels and elevations they wanted, but ultimately it just sat there. And I'm making this video again because not too many people even know what that is or that it exists to this day. I don't think it's going to exist for much longer with the redevelopment of the land, but nobody could ever even see it from those parking lots and ground level. It was very unassuming that that was even out there. But that's how it looked. Imagine in this alternate universe if that is what still stood there today instead of the nothingness. That right there was the conception for Arco Park. That was the rendering. That was one of a few things that came out. Can you imagine if Arco Park existed? A couple things. I think Arco Arena would have had a lot longer of a life. I think this site, this property would have had a lot more investment, a lot more upkeep over the years. It would have been built up instead of just kind of lesser maintained. And obviously the Kings have since moved on to Golden One Center. But this would have been a trip for Sacramento, for Northern California, and also, honestly, for the Bay Area. Sacramento was trying very hard to lure the Giants and to lure the Oakland A's. They were also going after the Raiders, who were in Los Angeles still at this time. But imagine that right there, Arco Park in Sacramento. And you can now kind of see with that curved angle there of what they were building that home plate seating section. Good thing they stopped instead of building all this for nothing, but it's interesting that that construction site existed out there. Again, this stadium could have been for baseball, it could have been multi-purpose, or it could have been football only. They didn't exactly know what they were starting to build other than, let's build the corner of this stadium. Let's show these leagues and show these teams that we mean business, that we are for real. We're just going to start building this. Maybe they had Field of Dreams come out recently? If you build it, they will come? Is that what they were operating on? I'm not positive. So just to set the context here, the Sacramento Kings had just moved from Kansas City. The 85-86 season was their first in Northern California. So Sacramento was hyped. They got an NBA team. Okay, now they're pushing for more. Construction mogul and entrepreneur Greg Lukenbill, he was pushing to bring more to Sacramento. In fact, I believe it was his construction company which did all of the work on Arco Arena to build it at its, well, I say current site, but now former site. But he was part of this group that was just trying to bring more. And like I said, the A's, the Giants, and the Raiders were big-time targets. And Sacramento, I don't want to say was desperate, but man, they were ambitious. They were making a pro push. A couple different events took place. There was a sold-out Raider game watch party at Arco Arena. And I'm talking about, no floor, no NBA floor. They sold out the entire building to put up and I don't remember what Raider game it was, but to put a Raider game up on that old Astrovision LCD screen. I mean, not even the highest of quality back then, but they had a sold-out Arco Arena just to show the NFL and the Raiders and Al Davis at that time, hey, if you come here, we're very wild and interested about your team. And remember, it was not long after that '95, right, when the Raiders came back from LA to Oakland. So maybe Sacramento was just a little bit ahead of their time in the late 80s, early 90s, but the Raiders did move, just obviously not to Sac. And then August of 1987, this was a famous or infamous bus trip, depending on how you look at it, but one of the pro sports groups in Sacramento, they bussed hundreds of A's fans down 80 to the Coliseum. They bought out a bunch of sections in the second deck of the Coliseum. This was for an August of 1987 game that the A's were playing. And they held up signs and banners and basically said, hey, move the A's to Sacramento. We're interested in you. Now, little did everybody know that 88, 89, and 90 were right around the corner, and the A's were going to draw millions of fans, and there's no question of where they belonged in Oakland, not in Sacramento. But that bus trip, I think they said it still remains one of the biggest group ticket sales in A's history. I can't confirm it. I can't deny it. But they tried to make an impact of sending all these fans to the Coliseum to say, hey, we're building this. Come on up to Sacramento. And last but not least, I mean, it is that $16 million they spent on a halted construction project, something that ultimately just turned out to be that. And I believe there's videos of this. You could check it out on YouTube. Other people have explored this site. It's all graffitied over, and there's still rebar sticking out of the ground. I mean, it literally looks like one day they said, okay, we're done. See you later. This is not going forward. And what they excavated there, the grading, the leveling that they did of that land, they did a lot of the preparation work, and that site just turned into a lake. And that's basically, I think, what it is today. I don't have an updated satellite view, haven't been to the site, but I do know that that entire area, like I said, is getting overhauled and redone. So hopefully that was interesting for you. I find that so fascinating that existed there all those years, like literally all those years, for 30 years of people going to ARCO, and nobody even knew that that was like over there just sitting there completely empty. And didn't turn out well for Sacramento, but obviously some things did, including the Kings staying in town, and eventually the Sacramento River Cats came to be. They got a brand new stadium for that, Rayleigh Field, which is now, I think, about 20 years old at least, but has done quite well for the city of Sacramento. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget, subscribe here to the channel. See you next time.